You know, when we think of world leaders, we often imagine them leading these incredibly busy and important lives, constantly making high-stakes decisions that shape the course of history. But have you ever wondered what a day in the life of one of the world's most powerful and wealthy leaders actually looks like? Well, today we're going to take a behind-the-scenes peek into the day-to-day routine of none other than Russia's president, Vladimir Putin. Now, Vladimir Putin is no ordinary president. In fact, he's been dubbed the world's richest president, with a reported net worth of a staggering $200 billion. But as we're about to discover, Putin's lifestyle is just as lavish and extravagant as you'd expect from someone with that kind of financial clout. So, let's dive in and take a closer look at how the world's richest president spends his days. Morning routine. Let's start with Putin's morning routine. Now, you might think that as the president of a major world power, he'd be up at the crack of dawn, ready to tackle a jam-packed schedule. But believe it or not, when he doesn't have any foreign meetings, Putin likes to sleep in as late as noon. It's almost unheard of for any world leader. But for Russia's commander-in-chief, it seems to be the norm. You see, Putin is a bit of a night owl. He tends to work late into the evening, often calling his ministers and advisors to discuss government affairs well past midnight. So, it's no surprise that he enjoys sleeping in and taking his time in the mornings. After all, when you're one of the most powerful men in the world, you can pretty much set your own schedule. And what does the world's richest president have for breakfast? Well, it may surprise you to learn that his morning meal is actually quite healthy and relatively simple. We're talking an omelette, some fresh fruit juice, porridge, and a bit of cottage cheese. Now, I know you're probably thinking it's quite simple and cheap, but hold on. Because even Putin's basic breakfast is anything but cheap. Everything he eats is sourced from local farms owned by the head of the Russian Orthodox Church, Patriarch Kirill, and his meals are prepared by a highly trained and well-paid personal chef who travels with him wherever he goes. So, while it may not be the most adventurous breakfast, you can bet it's top-notch quality. After all, when you're the president of Russia, you don't settle for anything less than the best. It's just another example of how Putin likes to keep a relatively low-key public image, while indulging in the finer things in life behind the scenes. Staying fit and paranoid. Now, after his healthy morning meal, Putin likes to spend a couple of hours swimming. And get this, it's said that he actually makes a lot of his important governing decisions while he's in the pool. I guess he finds the water to be a great place to clear his head and think through the pressing issues facing Russia. You see, Putin is a man who deeply values his physical fitness and strength. Despite being in his late 60s, he's known to be an avid participant in a variety of sports, from hockey to judo. In fact, he was even the honorary president of the International Judo Federation until his role was suspended due to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. As a former KGB agent, he's understandably wary of being poisoned, so he insists on having his personal cook with him at all times, even on international visits. And speaking of caution, Putin is also very particular about what he eats when he's on diplomatic trips. Before he touches anything, it has to be cleared by Russia's secret services. After all, he knows all too well how quickly things can go south if you're not careful. In fact, he even refuses to drink milk, though it's unclear if he just dislikes the taste, or if he has some deeper distrust of cows. You see, Putin's paranoia and obsession with personal safety are deeply rooted in his background as a former intelligence agent. He's seen firsthand how quickly the tides can turn, and he's determined to do everything in his power to protect himself from any potential threats. It's a level of caution that might seem excessive to some, but for the world's richest president, it's simply the cost of maintaining his position of power, lifting weights and reviewing the news. But Putin's daily routine isn't all about being paranoid and sleeping in. After his swim, he likes to hit the gym and lift some weights. And let me tell you, he doesn't mess around when it comes to his workout gear. We're talking about an outfit that's said to have cost more than $3,500. For a 69-year-old, he sure does go all out to keep himself in peak physical condition. Now, why does the president of Russia need to be so physically fit? Well, it's all part of his carefully curated public image. Putin wants to project an aura of strength, power, and virility, the embodiment of the strongman archetype that has long been associated with Russian leadership. By keeping himself in top shape, he's able to reinforce this tough, no-nonsense persona that has become so integral to his political brand. But it's not just about appearances for Putin. He genuinely seems to enjoy the physical challenge and mental focus that comes with intense exercise. Those swimming sessions and weightlifting routines aren't just for show. They're an integral part of how he likes to unwind and recharge. It's his way of taking a break from the constant demands of running a country and clearing his head. Once he's finished with his workout, Putin takes some time to review the news and keep tabs on what's being said about him. Now, you might think that as the president of Russia, he'd be able to control the narrative and only see positive coverage. But that's not the case at all. In fact, he actually makes a point of reading through the foreign press, even though he knows he's not going to like what he sees. You see, Putin is acutely aware of how he's perceived on the global stage, and he wants to stay ahead of the curve when it comes to public opinion. By consuming a wide range of news sources, both domestic and international, he's able to get a better sense of the broader conversation surrounding his leadership. It's all part of his relentless pursuit of information and control, two hallmarks of his time in power: meetings and diplomatic travels. After his personal time is up, it's time for Putin to get down to business. And let me tell you, his schedule is jam-packed with meetings, press conferences, and even the occasional military operation. I mean, this guy is the president of a major world power, so it's no surprise that he has a lot on his plate. Now, when Putin travels abroad for international events, he really goes all out. His delegation usually occupies an entire luxury hotel that's been thoroughly inspected and secured by Russia's secret services. And he travels with not one, not two, but 3 planes. One for himself, one for the rest of the delegation, and one as a decoy in case anyone gets any funny ideas about taking out the Russian president. But even when he's on the road, Putin's daily routine doesn't change much. He still insists on having his personal cook and entourage of servants, cleaners, and other support staff with him at all times. After all, he's not taking any chances when it comes to his safety and comfort. You see, Putin is a man who values control and security above all else. He wants to know that he's always surrounded by trusted allies and that every aspect of his environment has been meticulously vetted. It's a level of paranoia that might seem excessive to some, but for a leader with the kind of power and influence that Putin wields, it's just par for the course. And let's not forget the sheer logistical challenge of coordinating all of these diplomatic trips and international events. Putin's team has to work tirelessly to ensure that every detail is accounted for, from securing the luxury accommodations to arranging the elaborate transportation logistics. It's a well-oiled machine, to be sure, but one that comes at a staggering cost to the Russian taxpayer. At the end of the day, these lavish diplomatic travels and meticulously planned meetings are all part of Putin's broader strategy to maintain his grip on power and project an image of strength and authority on the global stage. Whether he's meeting with world leaders or overseeing military operations, he's always laser-focused on preserving his position and advancing Russia's interests, no matter the cost. Late nights and solitary living. As the day winds down, Putin likes to keep working late into the night. In fact, he's actually more of a night owl, claiming that he does his best thinking and strategizing when the rest of the world is asleep. And while he may spend his days in the confines of the Kremlin, he prefers to work from home in the evenings, hating the idea of staying in the office too late. Now, you might be wondering what Putin likes to have for dinner. Well, it's pretty much the same as his breakfast, healthy and relatively simple, with the occasional indulgence, like some caviar on special occasions. And just like his morning meal, his dinner is prepared by that trusted personal chef, ensuring that every bite is of the highest quality. But one thing that might surprise you about Putin's daily routine is that he rarely touches alcohol. The only times he really drinks are at diplomatic gatherings where the etiquette demands it. Otherwise, he's pretty much a teetotaler, preferring to stay sharp and focused, even in the late hours of the night. And speaking of his personal life, it's worth noting that Putin has been a single man since 2013, when he divorced his wife, Lyudmila. These days, he lives alone with his 3 beloved dogs, a black Labrador named Coney, an Akita Inu called Yumi, and a fluffy Karakachin dog named Buffy, which was a gift from the Prime Minister of Bulgaria. So, while he may be one of the world's most powerful and wealthy leaders, it seems Putin's true companions are these loyal canine companions: wealth, luxury, and secrecy. Now let's talk a bit more about Putin's staggering wealth and the lavish lifestyle that comes with it. As we mentioned earlier, he's been dubbed the world's richest president, with a reported net worth of a mind-boggling $200 billion. To put that into perspective, that's more than the GDP of many small countries. And where does all this wealth come from, you ask? Well, it's a bit of a mystery, really. Officially, Putin only earns a modest annual salary of $140,000 as the president of Russia. But clearly, that's not even scratching the surface of his true financial holdings. Some reports suggest that Putin may have secret ownership stakes in various Russian companies and industries, allowing him to amass this incredible personal fortune through opaque business dealings and backroom negotiations. But the most visible signs of Putin's wealth can be found in his extravagant personal properties. We're talking about a $1.4 billion mansion overlooking the Black Sea, complete with a marble swimming pool, an amphitheater, and even a Vegas-style casino. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. He's also said to own 19 other houses, 700 cars, 58 aircraft and helicopters, and a $716 million plane that's been nicknamed the Flying Kremlin. Perhaps the most ostentatious symbol of Putin's wealth, though, is his collection of luxury watches. We're not talking about your standard Rolex or Omega here. This guy's collection includes a Patek Philippe perpetual calendar worth $60,000 and a Lang & Sona turbograph valued at a staggering $500,000. A life of luxury and paranoia. But despite his vast wealth and lavish lifestyle, Putin doesn't exactly flaunt it for all the world to see. In fact, he seems to go to great lengths to maintain a relatively low-key public image, at least when it comes to his personal life and extravagant possessions. You see, Putin is a man who values his privacy and security above all else. He surrounds himself with an impenetrable barrier of security measures, including a secret train network, identical offices in multiple cities, and even a personal quarantine zone to prevent any potential threats to his life. It's almost like he's living in a virtual state within a state, with his own personal army of bodyguards, chefs, and other support staff. And when he does travel abroad, the lengths he goes to protect his safety are truly mind-boggling. We're talking decoy motorcades, fake planes, and a whole host of other cloak-and-dagger tactics to confuse foreign intelligence agencies and thwart any potential assassination attempts. It's enough to make you wonder if he's really the president of Russia, or some sort of supervillain straight out of a spy movie. At the end of the day, Putin's lavish lifestyle and extreme security measures are just a reflection of the immense power and influence he wields as one of the world's most powerful leaders. Whether you admire him or despise him, there's no denying that this is a man who has managed to amass an incredible amount of wealth and control, all while ruling over Russia with an iron fist. So, what do you make of Vladimir Putin's extravagant day-to-day existence? Is it the ultimate display of power and success, or a troubling symbol of the deep inequality and corruption that plagues Russia? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this glimpse into the life of the world's richest president, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another fascinating video.